The rain hammered against the windshield like bullets, cold, relentless, unforgiving. Emma Chen stood on the sidewalk outside the law firm, her graduation gown soaked through, mascara running down her cheeks in black rivers. Inside that building, through those floor-to-ceiling windows glowing warm with celebration, her family was toasting. Champagne glasses raised high. Laughter echoing off marble walls. They were celebrating her brother's promotion. On the day she graduated top of her class from law school. She watched her father shake David's hand, watched her mother kiss his cheek, watched them pose for photos she'd never be invited into. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mother, "We'll catch up next week. This is David's night." Emma didn't cry anymore. She'd run out of tears years ago, around the time she realized she'd always be invisible. The disappointment. Despair. The daughter who should have been a son. She turned and walked into the rain. What Emma didn't know, what she couldn't know as she trudged toward the subway in her ruined gown, was that 10 years later, she'd walk back into her father's life holding all the cards. His company. His reputation. His future. All resting in her perfectly manicured hands. But that rain-soaked night. She was just a broken girl who'd finally accepted the truth: her family would never see her. Never choose her. Never love her the way she needed. So she'd have to learn to love herself. And brothers, that decision, that moment of choosing herself over people who'd never choose her, that's where real power begins. If you want to see how Emma Chen transformed from the invisible daughter to the woman who controlled her family's fate, stay with me. This story is about something every man understands: the moment you stop seeking approval and start demanding respect. 10 years earlier Emma had always been good at being invisible. It started young. 2nd grade, maybe 3rd. Science fair. She'd built a working volcano with chemical reactions she'd researched at the library. Her father had come to David's soccer game instead. "Sports build character," he'd said. "Science fairs are just for fun." She stopped asking him to come to things after that. Middle school brought academic awards. Highest GPA. President of debate team. Math competition trophies that lined her bedroom shelf, gathering dust, unnoticed. Her mother would glance at them, say, "That's nice, dear," and return to discussing David's college prospects. David was 3 years older. Star athlete. Popular. Charismatic in the way golden boys always are. He wasn't cruel to Emma, that would have required noticing her enough to be cruel. He was just there. Occupying all the space their parents had available for pride. Emma learned to be small. Quiet. Competent but not flashy. She got straight A's because anything less would have been noticed in a bad way, but she never celebrated them. Never brought report cards to the dinner table with expectation in her eyes. She worked 2 jobs through high school. Saved every penny. Applied to colleges on her own, filled out scholarship forms in her bedroom at 2 a.m., wrote essays about ambition and determination that her parents never read. When she got into State University with a full ride, her father said, "Good. At least you won't be a financial burden." That was the entirety of his response. David went to private school on the family dime. Parties every weekend. New car for his birthday. Fraternity dues paid without question. He graduated with a C+ average and their father got him a job at Chen Industries immediately. Emma graduated summa cum laude. Got herself into law school. Top 5 in the country. Took out loans that would bury her for decades because asking her parents for help felt like begging for scraps. She told herself it was fine. She was building something they couldn't give her and couldn't take away: competence. Independence. A future that didn't require their approval. But God, it hurt. It hurt every time her mother forgot her birthday but threw David elaborate parties. It hurt when her father attended every one of David's company presentations but missed her law school orientation. It hurt when family photos went out for Christmas cards and Emma wasn't in them because she'd been studying for finals. The invisibility had gone from protective shield to prison cell. And on graduation day, standing in her rented gown with honors cords around her neck, waiting outside the ceremony venue hoping her parents would show up, Emma finally understood, they weren't late. They simply weren't coming. She'd walked across that stage alone. Accepted her diploma alone. Sat at the celebration dinner with classmates and their proud families and felt more alone than she'd ever felt in her life. Then came the text, "We'll catch up next week." Not "Congratulations." Not "We're proud of you." Just, "Catch up." Like she was a dental appointment they'd rescheduled. That's when Emma made her decision. Standing in that rain, her carefully applied makeup running, her gown heavy with water, her phone buzzing with messages from classmates celebrating at bars she didn't have energy to visit, Emma decided she was done. Done seeking their approval. Done hoping they'd see her. Done breaking herself into smaller pieces trying to fit into spaces they'd never make for her. If they wanted to pretend she didn't exist, fine. She'd become so undeniably present they'd have no choice but to see her. She just didn't know it would take 10 years. Or that when they finally saw her, it would be from their knees. Year 1, the grind. Emma threw herself into work the way drowning people grab life preservers. She'd landed a job at Morrison & Associates, a mid-tier corporate law firm. Not prestigious, but respectable. The kind of place that worked you 80 hours a week and called it opportunity. Emma worked 90. She lived in a studio apartment in a neighborhood where gunshots were part of the evening ambience. Instant ramen for dinner. Coffee for breakfast. Her student loans were crushing, $3,000 a month just to keep from drowning. But she paid them on time. Every time. Her co-workers thought she was insane. Take a day off, they'd say. You'll burn out. But Emma understood something they didn't. She had no safety net. No family money to fall back on. No parents who'd catch her if she fell. This wasn't a career, it was survival. She took the cases no one wanted. The tedious contract reviews, the endless document analysis, the grunt work that made senior partners' lives easier. She learned every aspect of corporate law from the ground up. Mergers, acquisitions, compliance, litigation. And she started noticing patterns. Morrison & Associates represented mid-size companies, mostly. Family businesses going public. Regional players expanding nationally. The kind of clients who needed sharp legal strategy but couldn't afford white-shoe Manhattan firms. Emma made herself invaluable. She'd stay until midnight finding the precedent that saved a deal. She'd work weekends drafting contracts so airtight they'd never see a courtroom. She anticipated problems before they arrived. 6 months in, she made senior associate. 1 year in, she'd brought in 3 new clients through referrals. Her boss, Richard Morrison, called her into his office. "Emma, you're the best associate I've hired in 20 years. I want to talk partnership track." Emma was 26. Partnership typically took 10 years. "What's the timeline?" she asked. 5 years. Maybe 4 if you keep this pace. "I'll do it in 3. Richard laughed. "You're ambitious." "I like that." "I'm not ambitious," Emma said quietly. "I'm hungry." There's a difference. She was hungrier than Richard could comprehend. Because every contract she negotiated, every deal she closed, every client she saved millions, she was building something they couldn't dismiss. Proof. Undeniable, unignorable proof of her worth. She didn't go to family dinners. Didn't call on holidays. When her mother sent obligatory birthday texts, Emma responded politely but distantly. When her father's assistant invited her to David's engagement party, Emma declined. She was busy. Building an empire they'd never helped her start. Year 3, the break. Emma made partner at 29. youngest in Morrison and Associates history. The announcement came with a raise that finally, let her breathe. She moved to a better apartment. Started paying off student loans aggressively. Bought her first real business suit instead of thrift store approximations. She looked in the mirror and saw someone different. Sharper. Harder. More focused. Someone her family wouldn't recognize. And she liked it. But partnership meant more than money and status. It meant equity. It meant ownership. It meant having actual power to shape the firm's direction. Emma started steering Morrison and Associates toward bigger clients. Riskier deals. Higher profiles. She brought in a tech startup that became a unicorn. She negotiated a merger that made headlines. She was becoming known. Not famous. But respected. The kind of lawyer other lawyers recommended when shit got complicated. And then Chen Industries came knocking. Emma was in her office reviewing contracts when Richard walked in, expression unreadable. "We've been approached by a potential client. Significant engagement. 8-figure contract dispute with international implications." Emma looked up. "Who's the client?" "Chen Industries. Your family's company." The world tilted. Emma kept her face perfectly neutral. Years of being invisible had taught her how to hide reactions. "My father's company." "Yes. They specifically requested you." That was surprising. Emma hadn't spoken to her father in 2 years. Birthdays and holidays passed unmarked. She'd seen David's wedding photos on social media, she hadn't been invited, and felt nothing but mild curiosity about whether he'd be happy. "Why me?" Emma asked. "Your reputation. You're handling corporate disputes now." Apparently word travels in industry circles. Chen Industries is being sued by a former partner for intellectual property theft. $60 million on the line. They need someone who can handle complex international litigation. Emma's mind raced. This was a trap. Had to be. Her father didn't believe in her competence, he'd made that clear for 29 years. This was about control. About bringing her into the fold now that she'd proven herself valuable, then taking credit for her success. But it was also opportunity. "I'll take the case," Emma said. Richard nodded. "Good. Meeting scheduled for next week. Conference room A." As he left, Emma sat very still. Her hands were shaking. From anger or anticipation, she couldn't tell. She'd spent a decade avoiding her family. And now they were walking into her world. Her territory. Where she made the rules. Brothers, understand this, sometimes the universe gives you exactly the confrontation you need. Not when you ask for it. When you're ready for it. Emma Chen was ready. The meeting. Emma arrived at the conference room 15 minutes early. Power move. You always control the space by being there first. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, charcoal gray suit, tailored perfectly. Minimal jewelry. Hair pulled back in a severe bun. She looked like exactly what she was, a partner at a respected firm who didn't need your approval. At 9 a.m. precisely, her father walked in. James Chen had aged. Gray at the temples now. Deeper lines around his eyes. Still tall, still commanding, still carrying himself like every room belonged to him. Behind him, David. 35 now, Vice President of Operations. Softer around the middle than his college photos suggested. Expensive suit that couldn't hide the fact he'd gotten comfortable. And a third man, late 60s, impeccable suit, sharp eyes. Martin Hughes. Chen Industries' longtime counsel. Emma stood. Extended her hand. "Mr. Chen." "David." "Mr. Hughes. Thank you for coming." Her father stared at her like he'd seen a ghost. "Emma." "Attorney Chen, she corrected gently. Let's keep this professional. Something flickered across his face. Confusion, maybe. He'd expected the daughter who used to beg for his attention. Instead, he got the lawyer who controlled this meeting. They sat. Emma opened her laptop. I've reviewed the complaint filed by Marcus Brennan. He's alleging that Chen Industries stole proprietary technology he developed while serving as VP of R&D. He's seeking $60 million in damages plus punitive compensation. He's represented by Klein and Associates, which means this will be aggressive and expensive. Martin Hughes leaned forward. We believe the case is without merit. Marcus signed standard IP assignment agreements. Everything he developed belongs to Chen Industries. Emma didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on her father. The problem is his timeline. He's claiming he developed the core algorithm before joining Chen Industries, that he was hired specifically for that algorithm, and that the IP assignment was signed under duress. That's ridiculous, David said. We hired him for general R&D expertise. Can you prove that? Emma asked coolly. Because his employment offer letter specifically mentions revolutionary predictive analytics platform as the reason for hire. That's going to be problematic. Silence. James Chen's jaw tightened. We need this case buried. It's threatening our IPO. I'm aware, Emma said. Which is why my fee structure for this case is non-negotiable. $250 per hour plus a success bonus tied to settlement value. You'll also pay all expenses up front, and I have full authority over legal strategy. No interference from company leadership. Martin Hughes blinked. That's highly unusual. So is a $60 million exposure that could tank your public offering. Emma's smile was sharp. You came to me because I'm the best. These are my terms. Her father leaned back, studying her. You've changed. No, Emma said quietly. I've just stopped pretending to be smaller than I am. She saw something in his eyes, recognition, maybe. Or respect. The thing she'd wanted her whole life, now arriving 20 years too late. Fine, James said. Your terms. But I expect results. You'll get them. Emma closed her laptop. I'll need full access to all company records related to Marcus Brennan's employment. Communications, contracts, meeting notes. Everything. And I need interviews with everyone who worked with him. David shifted uncomfortably. Some of those communications might be sensitive. Emma's eyes went cold. I don't care if they're love letters to the competition. I can't defend what I don't know. Full disclosure or find another lawyer. Full disclosure, James said. His voice carried weight. Final word. As they stood to leave, James lingered. Emma. We should talk. Outside of this. We are talking, Emma said. About the case. I mean about family. Emma gathered her files slowly. When she looked at him, her expression was perfectly neutral. Family is people who show up. You didn't show up to my graduation, my law school orientation, my partnership announcement. But you showed up here. So let's keep this relationship where you're most comfortable, transactional. She walked out. Behind her, she heard David whisper something to their father. She didn't care what. She just reclaimed her power. And it felt better than any graduation ceremony ever could. Year 4, the unraveling Emma buried herself in the case. Marcus Brennan's complaint was detailed and damaging. He'd kept meticulous records. Emails suggesting James Chen had known about the algorithm's origin. Meeting notes where executives discussed how to secure Marcus's technology. Financial projections built entirely on the disputed IP. This was worse than a simple employment dispute. This was potential fraud. Emma worked 18-hour days. Deposed witnesses. Reviewed thousands of documents. Built timelines. Searched for inconsistencies. And she found them. Marcus Brennan had lied. Not about everything, but enough. His revolutionary algorithm had been developed partially at Chen Industries using company resources. His timeline was deliberately misleading. He'd omitted key facts. But Chen Industries had also lied. James Chen had known Marcus's algorithm was partially developed before employment. They'd structured the hire specifically to acquire it without proper compensation. They'd buried that fact during IP negotiations. Both sides had dirty hands. Emma called a meeting with James and Martin Hughes. Settlement, she said without preamble. We offer $12 million and a comprehensive NDA. It's our best option. $12 million. David looked outraged. Why should we pay him anything? Because if this goes to trial, a jury will hear that your father knowingly acquired technology under false pretenses. That tanks your IPO and opens you to shareholder lawsuits worth 10 times what Brennan is asking for. Martin nodded slowly. She's right. James Chen's face was stone. We didn't do anything wrong. You did, Emma said quietly. Not legally actionable fraud, but ethically questionable practice. A jury won't care about the distinction. They'll see a big corporation steamrolling an individual inventor. You'll lose. And you're comfortable telling me I'm wrong? James's voice was dangerous. I'm your client. I'm comfortable telling you the truth, Emma said. Which is what you hired me for. You want a lawyer who'll blow smoke, hire someone else. I deal in reality. For a long moment, James stared at her. Then, impossibly, he smiled. You remind me of myself at your age. Emma's laugh was sharp. No. I'm nothing like you. Why do you say that? Because I'd never leave my daughter standing in the rain while I celebrated her brother's accomplishments. The room went silent. David looked confused. Martin looked uncomfortable. James Chen's face went pale. You remember that? He asked quietly. I remember everything, Emma said. Every missed event. Every dismissal. Every time you made me feel like I was invisible. I remember all of it. Emma, I don't want apologies. I want you to authorize the settlement so we can close this case and end our professional relationship. Professional relationship, James repeated. That's all this is. Emma gathered her files. That's all it's ever been. You just didn't realize it until now. She walked out. But this time, her father followed her. The conversation James caught up to Emma in the hallway outside the conference room. Emma. Wait. She stopped. Didn't turn around. If this is about the case, we can discuss it via email. It's not about the case. His voice was rough. Uncertain. It's about your graduation. Ancient history. Not to you. Emma turned slowly. Looked at him with eyes that had learned not to hope. What do you want me to say? That it's okay. That I understand. I don't. You chose my brother over me for my entire childhood. You made that choice again and again. And now you're surprised I'm not grateful for your attention. James flinched. I made mistakes. You made choices. Don't diminish them by calling them mistakes. I didn't know how to relate to you, he said. You were so competent. So independent. You didn't need me. Emma's laugh was bitter. I was independent because I had no choice. I was competent because no one else would catch me if I fell. You think I was born not needing you? I learned not to need you because needing you hurt too much. I thought, he stopped. Started again. David struggled. He needed more support. So I was punished for being capable. It wasn't punishment. Then what was it? Emma's voice rose. What do you call ignoring your daughter for 29 years because she wasn't broken enough to fix? James Chen, corporate titan who negotiated with world leaders, looked lost. I called it parenting. I thought I was letting you thrive. You were letting me survive. Alone. Silence stretched between them. 29 years of absence compressed into this sterile law firm hallway. Your mother and I are proud of you, James said finally. What you've built. Who you've become. You don't get to be proud, Emma said softly. You didn't build this. You didn't support this. You weren't there. So your pride is irrelevant. Emma, I'll settle your case. I'll save your IPO. And then we're done. Professionally and personally. You'll go back to your life, I'll go back to mine, and we'll pretend this conversation never happened. She turned to leave. I'm sorry. Emma stopped. Those two words, 29 years late, hung in the air. She didn't turn around. Sorry doesn't fix this. Nothing fixes this. But acknowledgement is a start. Then she walked away, leaving her father standing alone in a hallway, finally seeing what he'd lost. Year 5, the reckoning. The settlement went through. 12 million. NDA signed. Crisis averted. Chen Industries IPO launched successfully 3 months later. Stock soared. The company James Chen had built over 40 years became a billion-dollar public entity. Emma's firm sent him a final invoice. Her fees, $890,000 for 6 months of work. He paid without question. And then he did something unexpected. He called Emma. Not through assistants or lawyers. Directly. Emma, it's your father. She almost hung up. But curiosity stopped her. What do you need? Nothing. I mean, he sounded uncertain. James Chen, never uncertain. Your mother and I are having dinner Saturday. We'd like you to come. Why? Because you're our daughter. Bit late to remember that. I know. But I'm trying. We're trying. Please. Emma should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries. Should have protected herself. But there was something in his voice. Genuine regret. Real effort. Fine. Saturday. But I'm not staying long. That's okay. Thank you. Saturday arrived. Emma stood outside her parents' house, not home, she couldn't call it home, and felt 15 again. Small. Hoping. Scared. She almost left. But the door opened. Her mother stood there, older now, grayer, eyes uncertain. Emma. Come in. The house looked different. Or maybe Emma was different. The photos lining the hallway, she was in them now. Copies of graduation photos she'd sent years ago. Her partnership announcement. An article about a case she'd won. I had copies made, her mother said softly. I know we weren't there. But I wanted to remember. Emma's throat tightened. Dinner was awkward. David was there with his wife, Sarah. They made polite conversation. Asked about Emma's work. Avoided the obvious tension. Then James cleared his throat. I want to say something. The table went quiet. Emma, I failed you. I failed you as a father, as a parent, as a human being. I told myself I was giving you independence. But I was protecting myself from discomfort. David struggled in ways I understood. You excelled in ways I didn't. So I focused on fixing him and ignored you. That was wrong. Profoundly wrong. Emma's hands clenched under the table. I can't fix the past, James continued. I can't give you back your graduation or your childhood or the father you deserved. But I want to try to build something now. If you'll let me. Why now? Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. "Why after all this time?" "Because you made me see," he said. "You walked into my conference room and I saw what I'd missed. What I'd thrown away. The daughter I should have been proud of for decades. And I realized I'd been a coward." Emma's mother reached across the table. Took Emma's hand. "We've been cowards. Both of us. We're so sorry." Emma looked at her mother's hand on hers. The hand that had never held her at graduations or performances or countless lonely nights. The hand reaching now, 30 years too late. She should have pulled away. Should have protected herself. Should have left. But she didn't. "I can't promise I'll forgive you," Emma said. "I can't promise this will work. But I'll try. One dinner at a time." Her father's eyes filled with tears. "That's more than I deserve." "Yes," Emma said. "It is." And for the first time in 29 years, Emma Chen sat at her family's table and felt seen. Not fixed. Not healed. But seen. And sometimes, that's where healing starts. 1 year later Emma stood in her corner office, full partner now, her name on the letterhead, and looked at the city below. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father: "Board meeting went well. Told them about the new compliance strategy you suggested. They were impressed. Dinner Thursday?" She smiled and typed back, "Thursday works. See you then." The relationship was still fragile. Still being built piece by piece. Her parents were trying. Really trying. They came to her case celebrations now. Called on holidays. Sent flowers for no reason. David had apologized too. Admitted he'd been oblivious to how their parents had treated her differently. He was trying to be a better brother. It wasn't perfect. It would never be what it could have been if they'd chosen her from the beginning. But it was something. And Emma had learned something powerful: sometimes you don't get closure. Sometimes you don't get apologies. Sometimes people who hurt you never understand what they did. But when they try, really try, when they acknowledge the harm and work to build something new, you get to choose. You can hold the grudge forever. Justified. Righteous. Or you can build something new on the ruins of what should have been. Emma chose building. Not because they deserved it. But because she deserved peace. And peace came from letting go of the pain that had fueled her for so long. She'd proven herself. She'd built an empire they couldn't ignore. She'd forced them to see her. And now she could choose to see them too. Not as the parents who'd abandoned her. But as broken people who'd finally found courage to admit their failures. Brothers, here's what I want you to understand: Emma's power didn't come from revenge. It came from becoming so undeniably valuable that she controlled the terms of every relationship. When her family needed her, she was the expert they begged for help. When they wanted reconciliation, it happened on her timeline. When they offered apologies, she decided whether to accept them. That's real power. Not destroying people who hurt you. But becoming someone they can't ignore, can't dismiss, can't pretend doesn't exist. Emma Chen spent a decade becoming invisible to everyone who didn't see her worth. And then she spent the next decade making herself so visible that looking away was impossible. She didn't get revenge. She got something better. She got herself back. Epilogue: 5 years after that rain-soaked graduation night, Emma Chen stood in her parents' living room at a family gathering. Her nephew toddled over, grabbed her leg. "Aunt Emma, play with me." She smiled and scooped him up. Across the room, her father was talking animatedly with colleagues. He caught her eye, smiled, mouthed, "Thank you for coming." She nodded back. Her mother brought over coffee. "Emma, I was thinking. Next month is your birthday. What if we all went away somewhere? Just family. Make up for all those birthdays we missed." Emma's chest tightened. Not with pain this time. With something softer. I'd like that, she said. That night, driving home through the city, Emma thought about the girl standing in the rain. Broken. Invisible. Determined. She wanted to tell that girl, you'll make it. You'll build something amazing. You'll become someone they can't ignore. And eventually, they'll choose you. Too late to erase the pain, but soon enough to build something new. You'll get to decide whether that's enough. And you'll choose peace. Because peace is the ultimate power move. Brothers, if you're that person, the one your family overlooks, the one grinding alone, the one fighting for recognition you'll never receive, hear me, your worth isn't determined by who sees it. Build your empire anyway. Become undeniable anyway. Demand respect anyway. And when the people who ignored you finally see what they missed, you'll have all the power. You'll decide if they get access to who you've become. That's justice. Not revenge. Justice. Emma Chen learned that truth in the rain. She lived it for a decade. And she claimed it when she walked into that conference room and made her father negotiate on her terms. Your turn is coming. Build yourself into someone impossible to ignore. And when they finally see you, remember, you control the terms now. That's the story. That's the power. That's the victory. From invisible to invaluable. That's the arc. Now go build yours.